meeting ended dot on time, and the chief negotiator had, it was his first day yesterday, so they were pretty good in giving specific answers even if they disagreed. And actually, for one of the questions that the youth major group asked, they approached us later in the working group session to clarify an answer they could not have given. And the most contentious question put to them was about IUC, IUU fishing, and they said that they need to deal with it in the Doha round, which is which is not moving forward. So other than that, I mean, I don't remember all the specific questions. I remember, they said that they're reconsidering their stand on ombudsperson for the future generations. So otherwise, I mean, the meeting is.
Thank you very much. Yes.
I wasn't at the meeting, but I spoke to someone that had, because I was interested in subsidies, where Japan stood on the subsidies. And they said they did support the harmful subsidy on fossil fuels, but they couldn't support the harmful subsidy on fisheries because after this tsunami, their people are really suffering. So if they were to pull out that support, a lot of their population would be really hurt.
And they also said that they were in favor of voluntary reporting and disclosure, and they don't think it's the state's function to have firms do that. And they said that the concept of armed conflict, should be kept out of the SDGs.
Okay, thank you. I am aware, would you like to make a comment?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
The ambassador responsible for NGOs and civil society from Japan, that's the man we met yesterday. And one comment he made, that sustainable development goals should not be confused with human rights. Because human rights falls under peace building and security. It must be handled by the Security Council, which I found that is, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I know that there has been a meeting also with the delegation of Bolivia. I was not there. Would anyone like to report on this and make comments? Is anyone? Yes, please.
Jounen is in Finland. Maybe I don't remember all the questions, but maybe the main things that came out in that meeting were that he explained in significant detail the reasons why basically his country and many other countries in Latin America specifically opposed to the green economy idea. And for the first time I personally realized that it's really that they are, at least that's how they base their opposition, that they are actually going from an entirely different philosophical starting point, like suggesting these paragraphs with the rights of Mother Nature to the final document, which are now somewhere around the 71st paragraph between tourism and cities or whatever, as he pointed out, which they would want to lift to the beginning of the document as some of the as an overarching principle, and that's how their whole and that's why they are opposing the green economy, because basically from that point of view the green economy is an entirely opposite way of thinking, where you are actually trying to justify the protection of nature by giving it some kind of estimated monetary value, and so I don't know. I mean, that's clearly a very different perspective, and then I tried to ask about specific issues with regards to green economy, if he could support abolishing the harmful subsidies, for instance, and he didn't really support that either, because he saw it from his country's point of view. He saw it very problematic because every time they try to take down or lower subsidies on fossil fuels, for instance, they have riots on the streets, just like in many other developing countries. So that discussion didn't go much further. Then another interesting thing was that he was telling something about the internal negotiations inside the G77 countries, and he was pointing out that he doesn't know how strongly his country can bring up the issue of Mother Nature, because inside the G77 he has been asked not to be so, or they have been asked not to be so strong with that, because as he explained to the unity of the G77 group is very fragile, and they think that it's very important to maintain that unity of the group, because if they start dividing in some questions, then they lose all their negotiation power, and so he seemed to keep that as a very important principle, and so those were my main impressions. If someone else knows about or remembers some of the detailed questions, you can continue.
Thank you. There is somebody else.
Yes.
Could you tell us who was there? Who was there? From Bolivia?
Head of delegation. The chief negotiator. A couple of things on the point of the rights of Mother Nature. What I heard, but actually the rights of nature.
Harmony with nature.
There were three things. Ecuador had said the rights of nature. Bolivia, the rights of Mother Earth, and then harmony with nature is also. I didn't hear them. He said that the rights of Mother Earth, or that rights language around Earth or nature, is still very important to them. And unity within the G77 is important. And he was encouraging us to keep the need for the rights of nature or the rights of Mother Earth before the delegates. He was glad that it has now been moved to the more vision aspect of the document, where he believes it actually belongs. He did point out the difference between their position and the Holy See's position, but that this is the time to have it in the document in some form, and that he actually believed that there was some traction within the G77 group, even though they are looking at language that's okay for all. The other thing I think he brought out clearly was with the Sustainable Development Goals, that what they're really in difference to maybe the EU is that they don't want the same requirements for developed and developing countries. And so, for example, if you want to change consumption patterns, asking developing countries to change their consumption patterns isn't fair. So that's something that they're holding strong on. They did believe that compared to the language that's on the table right now, we do need to have a process for transfer of technology. And we need new options on the table, not just voluntary transfer, that is a real issue of difficulty for them. And then the social protection floor is a very important issue that they said they're really going to be addressing more now as a G77 group, I guess in the next while. And let me see, was there any other thing? Yeah, I think those were the main additional ones.
Thank you very much. Any more? Yes, please.
Yeah, I would just like to comment that we have been also discussing this issue in a women's major group on Mother Earth. And one of the things I would just like to highlight is that, for example, Uruguay and Holland have in their constitution that you cannot privatize water sources. And I think that's a way in which you try to protect. It's another way than through market instruments, and it's a better way, I think, to make sure that we keep the access to the resources, and to make it sure that it's not only those who have most money who can have the access to the resources. And so I think we need to think in these type of concepts, and it would be very interesting if in Rio we could get more support for these type of ideas. No privatization of your water sources as a basic understanding of sustainable development, but maybe also this idea of the no-go zones for mining. Yeah? And instead of mining, why don't we try to recuperate? In each ton of e-waste, we have kilos of gold and copper and things which we are destroying entire indigenous people's lands for, which we will never be able to bring back. We're losing all the biodiversity. Let's do much more with all the waste we have. And so I think that type of paradigm shift we should be working for in Rio.
Thank you very much. Yeah, any more comments? We could then go to our next point of the agenda, which is informing you about upcoming events today. At 11 a.m., we will have a meeting with the Vice President of the Reportback in this room. It was a meeting called for the OPs, the organizing partners, but we were lucky enough to have this room, so the meeting will be open to people who would like to come. It's from 11 to 11:50 in this room. And at 3 o'clock, the 9 major groups will be talking at ECOSOC. I think this is, I don't know if young Gustav, with his experience, can tell us if it's a first or not. No, it's not a first, but anyway.
It's not a first, sorry, it's not a first that a representative from the major groups have been asked to address ECOSOC, but it's the first time we all address it.
Okay. So the format of the meeting will be that each major group will have between 5 and 7 minutes to address ECOSOC. And then there will be time, these presentations will be commented by 3 specific discussants in the plenary, and then the discussion will be open. So I think it's going to be an interesting session, and I think it's open to everyone, right? Yes. Okay. So I think that for announcement, that is, anyone would like to do any announcements, side events, or, yes, please? And then,
Yesterday, how many of you are going to be in Rio? Would you please raise up your hands? We had a meeting with the major groups organizing partners yesterday. Rio is going to be very complex, so I would ask you to please address your OPs in terms of organization. It's very relevant to know where the events are taking place, where you're staying. Transport is an issue, language is an issue, and also you have to realize that there'll be hundreds of major group representatives, mainly from Latin America and Brazil. So the ability of your OPs to attend your needs goes practically down to 0. So we will need much of your collaboration. Please address your OPs in terms of organization and what will be happening in Rio as soon as possible.
yes, thank you. There's someone on the back. Yes, please.
There will be a dialogue.
It's on. Just speak.
There will be a dialogue with the Norwegian delegation this afternoon. For those of you who are available, 2:30 p.m. this room. They're asking us to stick strictly to addressing questions related to the negotiating text. So 2:30 in this room.
Thank you, young Gustav.
Well, that's just for half an hour before the ECOSOC.
Right.
Okay.
You first.
Just following close on what Louis said, the information is very important, and Stakeholder Forum has, in line with its tradition from 1997 and 2002, we're producing a draft diary of all the events. This is the first edition. We will be coming up with more editions, but if you have information you'd like to have in this diary, please send it to the email which is here. It's a draft diary of events for everybody here. We will try to produce enough for everyone. And these become collector's items.
Thank you. No.